Over the last few years, there's been lots of talk about the market dropping, but that hasn't stopped people from property developing. There's still a huge appetite for making a living from doing up an old wreck. But it's much easier to make money in some parts of the country than it is in others. Each week on Property Ladder, I'm working with 2 developers in different areas of the country, helping them cash in on what their local market needs, so they can walk away with as much profit as possible. You should never underestimate the importance of location when it comes to developing property. After all, you can change the property, but you're completely stuck with the location. If you buy with something like an amazing view already in situ, like Gregory and Sally Breeze have done in Clevedon just outside Bristol, then you're off to a good start. Whereas developments in less exciting positions like this part of Surrey, 20 miles from London, are not so lucky. Developers need to be careful what they invest in. Take this striking 1930s Art Deco house. It's a great property, but some would say the safest solution with this house is to bury its deco style inside a more suburban exterior. People around here like more traditional family homes with pitched roofs, not leaky flat ones. This house could be difficult to shift, but structural engineer Craig Young and his wife Tina have just sold their own home and invested £225,000 in the property.
We're aware that it has some risk, but we're fairly confident that we can make it work.
Tina and Craig have fallen in love with the Art Deco style and want to restore this house to such a high standard that even suburban Surrey won't fail to be moved.
We want them just to fall in love with it, don't you, immediately, really?
We would, that'd be lovely.
Yeah. And then get the chequebook out.
Hopefully they'll have cash.
But it's not easy to make money out of property anymore, and I'm not sure Tina and Craig have done their homework. So how much are you hoping to make out of the development?
Well, having researched the area, we think that we could make probably in the region of about 85,000 if the market stays as it currently is.
Gosh, £85,000, that's a lot. So what do you need to sell it for to make that?
We looked on some property websites on the internet and found out that there had actually been a property that had sold for 351,000.
The same size as this? I'm really surprised by that.
I mean, I don't know exactly what they'd done to it.
And if it's sold, not just asking that price?
No,
that's sold.
I think you'd be safer working at the 310 level.
Yeah.
I think it's really unlikely you're going to get 350 for it. Over the last year, not one house the same size as Tina and Craig's has sold in their area for more than 310,000. And surfing the internet for local house prices is no way to put a realistic business plan together. Tina and Craig bought the property for £225,000 and are hoping to spend only £40,000 on the renovation. Sell for an ambitious £350,000 and make a profit of £85,000, a massive 33% return on their investment that is practically unheard of. Which one of you's good with the money, then?
We're both very good with money.
We like spending. We're both actually quite bad in terms of budgeting. I think I will probably keep a rein on it much more than Craig will.
And are you confident you're going to be able to control it?
No?
Yes. We are going to do that. We are.
We are? You're not?
Yes.
You are?
No, we know the criteria we need to use to make it successful, and we are going to make sure that happens.
So who's the boss between you two?
We share responsibilities quite well.
Do you?
I am.
Laid out over 2 floors, upstairs there are 2 double and 2 single bedrooms with a smallish family bathroom and WC. Downstairs there's a living room, and at the back of the property a dining area with an undersized kitchen next door. Tina and Craig want to give the whole of the ground floor a high design look by creating a contemporary open-plan kitchen diner and putting in an unusual sloping corridor wall that will be mirrored in the banister opposite. I think it's a good idea to have a hallway of some sort, because in this house, that'll actually make it feel smaller, coming straight into the whole room, really. It's just such an angular architecture on the outside that I'm not sure introducing curves inside, as there aren't any at the moment, would be a good idea.
There are very strong Art Deco features that are curved that we're trying to introduce into the house.
And there is a curve there, but that's not original to the house, and I personally think that that fights very much with the architecture of the rest of the outside and the inside.
If they're serious about restoring the Art Deco look, then they need to know their stuff, and I'm not sure they do. What's more, it will be really difficult to achieve on their £40,000 budget. Add to that the limited market for such a property, and you've got yourself a very risky development. But neighbouring houses have found an alternative.
It's interesting, this area, because a lot of this period of house, which they're built between the wars, have put pitched roofs on them. Now, I personally think that in terms of design, that's a terrible thing to do, but there are some buyers who will be alienated by the flat roof and probably may not even come and look at the house in the first place.
Considering its neighbours, it's a safer option to copy them and opt for a more conventional pitched roof. It may be hard to find an Art Deco fan who's prepared to pay a premium for this property in this position. And they can't afford for this development to be a failure.
We've sold, our flat, to do this project. We've got to make it work. We've got to get some money out of it. Otherwise, our dream of becoming a property developer just doesn't materialise, and we've got a lot riding on it. So if you were in our position, would you still take that risk?
And I don't mean to be rude. I don't know how to say this in a nice way, so I'll just say it. But if you're not good enough at design at the inside, it won't work, and if you are, it will. And I don't know how good you are at design.
We don't know either.
No, we don't, because it's the first time we've ever done it.
It's not something I have the confidence to do, which I would ordinarily do.
If you haven't got the confidence to do it, then I think you should go down the safe route. I think you should put a pitched roof on. Then you end up with a perfectly nice house, which you'll sell for a reasonable amount of money. Maybe the first time round, you should play it safe.
Good. I like safe. For the first time in my life, you wouldn't hear me saying that often, but in this case, I want the next project financeable, and I just want to get out of this one and on to the next one.
Unfortunately, you two aren't doing the development together. I'm doing it with you, and I haven't actually made that decision. So it's certainly something we need to seriously think about and consider. Or maybe I will agree with you, but at the moment, I still think we take that risk. We can do it.
Tina is bravely sticking to her Art Deco vision, and this is fighting talk. But selling a niche property for a premium in this area will be a real challenge. On the other hand, a conventional family house in a great position is a much safer option. And that's just what developers like Gregory and Sally Breeze in Clevedon are banking on. They've bought this 4-bedroom house outside Bristol with views to die for. It could be a great development, and they're feeling pretty pleased with themselves.
Kitchen should be nice, bit of wine on the top, bit of fresh fruit, and off we go. In they walk, snap it up. I had this lovely figure in my mind. If we could get away with a 70 spend, we're looking at 100,000 profit.
Mike and Sally are hoping to maximise their profit by adding a large 2-storey extension. Unfortunately, they're taking a massive risk with their finances to pay for it.
Wangled some cheap finance off a credit card for 9 months interest-free. With a bit of luck, by the time the credit card want their money back, we can give it to them back without paying a bean of interest. Should be exciting. Or depressing.
They paid £320,000 for the property and are looking to spend £70,000 doing it up. They're hoping to break the ceiling price in the area by selling for £490,000. This would make them a fantastic £100,000 profit. But it does depend on breaking the ceiling price, which is a really hard thing to do.
There's only 2 ways that you can break a ceiling price. Either you make your house better than all the other houses in the street,
or there's no other house on the street for sale and therefore someone's got to pay more for yours. I don't think you can bank on the second because there's not much you can do about it.
Absolutely.
So what are you going to do to make this development stand out?
Bathrooms a bit like posh hotels, not that difficult to do, but it really does wow people. Nice floor coverings. People walk in and say, this is what I want to live in. This looks bang up to date, not too trendy, but just spot on. You know, subtle but tasteful. Everything that makes people get impressed with houses.
Mike's sounding very confident, and with the development in such a cracking position, he might just pull it off. Back in Surrey, it's starting to dawn on Craig and Tina that they've bought a very risky first development. And they're checking what local agents think of retaining the Art Deco look.
Is it true that these properties actually sell easier if we put a pitch roof on?
If you're an inexperienced property developer, then you need to make sure that your development appeals to the broadest possible market in the hope of guaranteeing a quick sale. Which is not what Tina and Craig Young are doing. They're developing a niche Art Deco property in an unfashionable part of Surrey. It's week one of the development. Builders are cracking on, but now Tina and Craig are getting cold feet about their Art Deco vision.
The advice still is to put a pitch roof on.
But it would just be, I'd be really devastated if we had to do that. But I don't know what to do. I don't know if we should put pitch roof on or not. All I know is it will ruin the look of the house.
Gut reactions are silly things, and we just need to go and find out a bit more about it.
Turning this property into a plain family home would mean losing almost every detail of the original building, from the deco-style steel windows right down to the last fixture and fitting. So with the demolition complete, there's very little builders can do until Craig and Tina carry out the research they should have done months ago. Three weeks later, there's still nothing happening on site.
He still hasn't made his mind up on the roof yet. The roof, he's not sure whether he wants to go ahead with that and put a proper roof on or leave it as it is. Yeah, it's all a little bit vague at the moment. I don't know. Nothing's been settled. I mean, to be quite honest, we're knocking this wall down. He might put it back if he doesn't like it.
An empty site is an expensive site, but Tina and Craig still can't agree on whether to follow through their Art Deco vision for the house or to go for a less risky, more predictable approach.
We don't seem to have a problem making the decision, and then we're right, that's what we're doing. But then we tend to change our mind later.
In property development, procrastination is the thief of profit, and Tina and Craig need to get moving. So I'm taking them to this classic Art Deco house to help them decide once and for all if they're up to recreating the kind of deco look that could get them a premium for their property. I think you should look at this house and make up your mind as to whether you can make the inside look right, because if you can't, don't do it. So what do you think of it?
My first impression is it's sort of a bit over the top. That's how I would describe it.
You're not a fan?
No. Maybe it's just the furnishings. You know, I really don't like some of the furnishings in it.
There's elements of this, though, that you have to use and take away. For instance, the height of the door handles, for instance, that makes a massive difference. The door handles are much, much higher than they had been previously. You look at the skirting and the detail of the skirting, they're low, they're bevel-topped, they're simple. It's a lot of oak, a lot of exposed wood.
Sure, yeah.
You've got boards on the floor, but they're very narrow boards, and they always were with deco floors. An absolutely gorgeous dining room.
I love this.
This is lovely. Can I just ask you about the radiators? Do you think that's a detail that we must adhere to?
I think in an ideal world you would, yes. But I don't
personally have a problem with the marriage of contemporary design or other periods of design with the original architecture, but I think it's important that you think about it and that it works well together.
Sure.
Mixing deco and contemporary styles can work, but you have to get it right. If they get it wrong, Tina and Craig will end up with a house that looks right on the outside but wrong on the inside, and that could be impossible to sell. I think you have to decide what you're going to do. Just believe in yourself and go for it, because no decision equals no finished house equals definitely no profit.
So I actually believe we could do it, but I'm just risk averse, you see. I don't like taking risks. You're the one who takes the risk, I don't.
Yeah.
It's your marriage.
Having looked at it, there are bits that are really lovely and that we could take away and do on a much smaller scale in our house. And I'm fairly confident we could do it.
Right. Are you happy with that?
I love that house, and there's lots in there that I'd like to take to our house.
If you're prepared to stick your neck in the line, then deco it is.
Deco it is.
It's a brave decision for someone who's risk-averse, and it will be extremely hard to do on their £40,000 budget. But at least the site can finally get moving. It looks as if our visit to the deco property has started to rub off on Craig and Tina. Curves are out and straight lines are in, as Tina and Craig ditch their idea for the curvy banister and the curvy corridor wall that ends up with a nice touch of angular deco design.
This is the completed design. That is it. This is it. We're having a recessed radiator in here, and that opening there. We think now that wall looks really quite sort of Art Deco-y, so that's the finished design.
Tina and Craig are now well and truly targeting a niche market for their property. A risky but understandable choice considering the architecture of the building. While in Clevedon, Mike and Sally are following through with their mass market, mass appeal approach in the hope of making a £100,000 profit. And they've given themselves a fighting chance because, unlike the Art Deco development, it would be hard to fail in this great location. They're 4 weeks into the development and are adding square footage to add value, but that only works if you get the layout absolutely right.
OK, so this was the lounge, and it's got to be the kitchen. No choice, really.
Right.
It's got to be the kitchen.
Why is the kitchen not going to be in the new extension?
It's too big. Estate agents...
Can you have a kitchen too big?
No, but you can have a lounge that's too small. And this lounge is too small for a house this big.
Mike and Sally are extending the house sideways over 2 floors. They plan to turn the upstairs part of the new extension into a luxury master suite. And downstairs they plan to create a lounge and a garage. But I think this would leave them with a very inadequate kitchen. A much better use of space would be to leave this room as a lounge and turn the extension into a spectacular kitchen diner.
Is this a plan here?
Yeah.
Because I have to say, I think the ultimate family house has a kitchen where you can cook, you can eat, and you can hang out, and you can sit and watch telly, and it has views to the garden, and you can access the garden. And with this fantastic view that you've got, really, I think that you actually just want a massive kitchen, and really the rest of the house is slightly incidental.
I can't envisage getting the furniture in to make this fit. Because, you know, if you don't, unless you brick this up, so you've actually got a window here and you can actually arrange furniture, how do you get a TV? How do you get enough seating in here?
We have a sofa there, another sofa there, have an armchair there.
Don't fry me, we've planned this now.
Oh, are we too far gone to change?
Wow, not too far gone, but it's...
I just
I've
think
got my
that...
head around what I'd planned.
How do you feel about it?
I like the idea of having the kitchen where everybody congregates and you all chat and cook or make tea and yeah, I can see what you're saying, yeah, but now, what do we do now?
By the end of the day, Mike and Sally have come to a decision.
when Sarah said what she did, he thought, oh no, don't do that. Yeah, initially, I was disappointed. I didn't want to hear that. I thought we got it right. And then she talked you through it, and what she said made complete sense. I think we'd be daft to ignore advice like that from somebody who knows what they're doing.
By putting in a large kitchen diner, they are again playing it safe and appealing to the mass market. Unlike Craig and Tina, who are taking the gamble of sticking with their vision of an Art Deco house.
Yeah, that could very well happen.
This means restoring the 70-year-old steel windows, all 17 of them. The existing windows are clearly in need of work, but Tina and Craig are hoping they can be repaired and have set aside just £500 for the work. The trouble is, until now, they've never checked if they're salvageable.
As you can see, this is completely shot. There's not really anything you can do with that. Whatever you do, it's got to be replaced, simply as, simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if I wanted to replace them, how much do you think I'd have to spend?
Well, on this project, you're talking in the region of between 18 and 19,000 plus VAT.
This is a huge blow, and Craig and Tina should have identified this cost before they even bought the house. As it is, spending nearly £20,000 on the windows will blow their £40,000 budget apart, and unless they can cut back elsewhere, they will eat straight into their £85,000 profit margin. The problem is, I don't see where else they can cut back. Apart from the totally inadequate £500 they have for the windows, they've got a tiny £6,800 for all the building work, only £8,500 for the kitchen and bathroom, and a mere £4,000 for the electrics and plumbing. There's £6,200 for the decoration and flooring, £1,600 for the garden. They do have a £4,000 contingency which can go towards the windows, but this won't even come close to covering the cost. And with fees of £8,400 taking up a large chunk of the budget, their total is £40,000. Back at home, the seriousness of the situation is starting to dawn on Craig and Tina.
As far as I'm concerned, it is not a disaster. The
Well,
disaster.
from where I'm concerned, it's a disaster.
I'll tell you why it's not a disaster.
£17,000 worth of disaster.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why it's not a disaster, because it's only a disaster if at the end of this project we haven't made any money.
To be honest, I'm sick of it. Right now, I'm totally sick of it. Just don't want to know. All right, and it's wrong, I know. And you know, maybe tomorrow I'll feel better about it, but at the moment, I haven't got anything good to say.
Well, no, I think we've just got to see what we can salvage out of it.
The thought of having to spend an extra £17,000 is too much for Craig, and out of the blue he decides he wants to get rid of the whole problem by selling their house. But I think they need to get things into perspective. I've been in your situation, and it is really difficult when you just feel that everything is going wrong and you want to just throw in the card. I know that you're at the end of your tether, but the thing is, at this stage, is not to sell. You can't really afford to sell halfway through a development unless you physically have to, because of you're bankrupt or you're going mad, but you really, really can't afford to sell when you've ripped a house apart, because it's worth a lot less than when you started.
It just feels at the moment that this project probably isn't the one that we should be pursuing.
With any business, you have to address problems as they come up, and if it became financially unviable, I would be completely behind you to get out. But I don't think it stacks up financially, and I don't think it stacks up in terms of the potential for this development. I have absolutely no doubt that when the house is finished, it's going to be fantastic, and you won't regret sticking with it, and I think you will regret jumping ship.
No, I don't want to think about having to think about whether I'm going to spend another £1.50 on each socket, or whether I'm going to use white plastic MK sockets, or...
If this is going to be a career, developing properties, I don't think that you can jump ship on the first development when the going gets really tough.
Putting in the windows will push Tina and Craig's budget up from £40,000 to nearly £60,000. And even though their target profit of £85,000 was always ambitious, if they're careful, they should still be able to walk away with a reasonable profit. But first, they have to come to an agreement.
Well, I'm fairly confident that Craig will do as I tell him to do, basically. And my view is we go for it. We've started it. I don't want to give up. I think, having listened to Sarah, it makes me think, yep, we've just got to go for it. We've got to get on with it and get it finished.
Tina's still really enthusiastic, and I just hope she can keep the cost down, and, you know, let's crack on and see how we get on.
Tina and Craig Young could have played it safe by fitting in with their neighbouring houses, stripping the Art Deco detailing and turning their unusual-looking property into a more conventional family home with a pitched roof.
The pitched roof? No. The house would immediately become a normal detached house in any other road, in any other part of the country. And as soon as we do that, then we might as well forget all of the other things that we're trying to do to keep the house in keeping with Art Deco.
So they're risking everything on keeping the flat roof and the Art Deco design in the hope that a buyer will pay a premium for the property. In Clevedon, Mike, Gregory and Sally Breeze might have chosen a safer house in a safer area, hoping to make a massive £100,000 profit. But they're financing the project on their credit cards, and they need to get it finished before the interest payments start. 2 months in, Mike gets some bad news from his builder.
Mark rang me up one night and he said the roof really doesn't work. There's a fairly major problem with it. That came as a bit of a shock to me. He said, do you want the good news or the bad news? It transpired there wasn't really any good news.
It turns out the roof of the new extension has to be a metre higher than shown in the drawings. And while it's not unusual to have to adapt your plans during a development, this means Mike has to apply all over again for planning permission. And he hasn't allowed any time in his schedule for this. Although he has gone ahead with a new application, Mike's in no mood to wait for it to be approved.
We're going to make this roof 2 foot 8 inches higher. I just hope to God the planning officers like it and the neighbours are OK about it. I've been talking to the neighbours, they're OK, so we're just going to do it.
Even though the planners could force him to remove the entire roof structure, Mike goes ahead anyway. Only time will tell if this turns out to be a very expensive gamble. In Surrey, at the Art Deco property, Tina and Craig's early indecision and the £17,000 they'll have to spend on the windows means their costs have risen sharply, but no one seems to have told Tina.
Craig tries quite hard to stop me spending, I suppose. But in fact, we don't row about it. He just tells me not to spend so much and I just ignore him.
It's all down to who wins the power struggle between Tina and Craig, and I've come along to mediate.
This is the toilet we want and the sink. Beautiful, aren't they?
They are absolutely beautiful. How much do they cost?
It's about £1,000 each, isn't it?
Yes.
£1,000 for the pan and
toilet,
system?
Yeah, yeah.
And £1,000 for the basin?
Yeah.
OK. That actually is quite a lot of money, I personally think, on a pan and system. Is it not? I mean, have I gone mad? Is that not?
No, you are mad, but it is a lot of money.
I think we've probably gone mad. I've probably gone mad. I think it probably, yeah, it is quite a lot of money.
No, it's not a lot of money. It's a massive amount of money. Do you think this is a good idea?
I think no.
Who is controlling the budget here? Or is anyone controlling it or not?
I am doing my best to curb the spending. Does that mean controlling budget? Is that the same thing?
You're busy spending, are you?
Yeah.
OK.
No, I am in control of we are in control of the budget, aren't we?
Where are you? How much have you spent?
We've spent our budget.
Yeah.
And more?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this, for instance, is also contemporary, but it's £500 for the basin and the loo instead of £2,000.
But it does look much less wow than the one we've chosen.
It does. And you're doing exactly the right thing, trying to make the property look stylish and contemporary. But please tell me you're not going to spend £2,000 on your basin and loo.
No, I'm not going to tell you that.
OK, please tell me you're not going to go with that basin and loo.
No, I'm not going to tell you that.
OK, you're not going to go with that basin and loo, are you?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Tina seems intent on unnecessarily eating into their profits. In Clevedon, Mike's credit card loan means his £100,000 profit margin depends on keeping to schedule. And that means avoiding delays at all costs. And he's not only gone ahead with the roof before planning permission, he's also decided to add a window to the kitchen without waiting once again for the approval from the council.
The neighbours got wind of the window, knew it wasn't on the original planning consent and objected. And the council have upheld the objection, saying it needs to be bricked up or obscure glass. You need the view, you can't forego a view like that.
Unfortunately for Mike, this view also looks straight into his neighbour's bedroom.
That window, well, it really is appalling to have to look at that from your bed. And I have put net curtains up, which I don't like, to give me a little bit of privacy. So I strongly oppose it, and I'm waiting to see what does happen.
Mike's in a deadlock with the local council, but the clock's ticking and he's putting the whole development at risk.
So this is the offending window?
It's the window.
Yeah. And how long has this issue been going on for now?
Oh, 8 weeks, I should think. Must be.
So
Must
8
be.
weeks you've been arguing over the window?
Yeah, just over the window. It's madness.
The right route at this stage, in my opinion, is to just sort it out and move on. And I don't think trying to fight it is the right solution.
No.
You certainly don't want to fall out with your neighbour. No. So I think you're only really left with one option, and that's to obscure the panes of glass that are in the window as they are. One of the ways you can obscure the glass that's already in there is you can use a spray like this, which is just a frosting spray, and you can spray it on. The disadvantage is if you don't get it even, it looks absolutely dreadful. I think you'd be better off getting somebody in to do it myself, because you want it to look perfect.
Yeah.
What you can do is not do the top half, only do the bottom half so that you can't see into her bedroom, and then leave a clear panel of about 1 inch around the outside here, so that you've just got this obscured piece here, which is the view that they've got an issue with.
The idea of obscuring half out the glass is a really clever way of doing it, though. The council would go for that, just so we could get it finished.
Yeah. You'll go for
give in.
I think you really should go down this route, because you've got to get on with this development and you've got to get your planning permission through. You're running with no planning at the moment.
This is true, yeah. We've got a big extension and it's not approved, so...
Yeah, I mean, in theory, you're in really deep water.
It's never worth falling out with your neighbours. It's much more important to get on with the property and turn the development round quickly, especially if you're borrowing money on a credit card. In Surrey, Tina's still taking risks.
Right, my plan for this room is to bring some colour into it, so we can sort of create that wow factor.
And Tina certainly has gone for the wow factor with these boldly coloured, flat-fronted radiators. But they're a permanent fixture, and such bold statements might deter some buyers. If she's determined to introduce even more colour into the property, there are other, less permanent ways of doing it.
OK, this is the easiest painting lesson you're ever going to have. The idea is you get blocks of colour introduced into the house without meaning that the person who buys the house has to redecorate if they don't like the colour you've chosen. It's a really good solution if you're doing a development that is perhaps a little risque in terms of its style, and therefore you're having to make very, very bold statements. But ultimately, you're not going to offend anyone and you're not going to alienate any market, more importantly, and you won't have a bland house. It takes no time at all. Just pop the paint on the canvases. With every development that I've done, I think it's really important that you follow fashion, and now it's really important that you inject colour, and I've found that this is a very good way to inject colour into a development.
Yeah.
So that took all of 5 minutes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think they will look really, really good. Don't you?
To be honest, I didn't think we were going to get a result out of this, but I think it looks really great.
20 quid for the canvases, a tenner for the paint, original artwork for under £50. I'm going to be very disappointed if I don't see these in the finished house.
Four months in and 6 weeks over schedule, the steel windows finally arrive. All £17,000 worth of them. And although this will send Tina and Craig way over budget, I think this is one overspend they simply had to make.
To get them in has been long and arduous, but now that we've got them and they're going in, it's absolutely fantastic.
It's a major turning point as the final stages of the development can get moving.
After all that I've been through with it, it just feels really quite amazing to actually see the end in sight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To actually think we are going to finish this and it's going to look fabulous.
In Clevedon, the development is also coming together. The local council have approved my idea of obscuring the lower half of the kitchen window, as well as allowing the extra height on the roof. The trouble is, the extra window, alterations to the roof, and a last-minute decision to put decking in the garden have all come at a cost. And Mike has had to take the painful decision to sell his car to raise the extra £20,000 cash.
I'm sitting in a car I love. On a day like this, it's perfect, but it'll pay for the overspend without raising any more money, without costing me any more money. So it's not nice, but I can do it.
It's taken 5 months of back-breaking work, but the renovation of this striking Art Deco property in Surrey is finally over. I had my concerns as to whether Tina and Craig could pull off the Art Deco design, but they've done their homework and got the detailing just right.
I like the canvases. Very beautifully painted.
They go quite well, don't they, here?
They're a work of art.
They
They
are
go
really.
perfectly.
They're really vibrant colours. I just think they look really good.
An Art Deco enthusiast should really go for the look down here and won't be disappointed by the upstairs either. There's no expense spared here, especially in the bathroom.
Oh my word, you did it. You bought that loo. You have spent so much money on this place.
It looks fantastic though, doesn't it?
It does look good, but my goodness, there was no control about the money, was there?
Yeah, there was.
Spending was like
controlled.
Unlimited. Craig, do you think that Tina's actually brainwashed you into just opening the checkbook and just going for it?
No, I think we agreed that Tina was probably looking after the budget and I just gave up.
he certainly did. The cost of the bathroom and kitchen rose from £8,500 to a staggering £22,000. And the rest of the budget has taken a hammering as well. They totally underestimated the building costs that went from £6,800 to £31,600. The £500 they set aside for the windows hardly made a dent in the £17,000 they ended up costing. And the electrics and plumbing rose from £4,000 to £9,000. The decoration and flooring soared from £6,200 to £12,000. And they splashed out £7,000 on the garden. They didn't allow a penny for the £8,000 that went on furnishing the property. The fees and mortgage ended up at £12,000, so the final result is their original £40,000 budget rose to a massive £118,600.
That is a lot of money. So that's actually 3 times your budget.
I'd like to say there are absolutely no regrets about the amount of money we've spent because we've got such a beautiful house, but of course there is. We must regret some of the money that we spent because it's just cut down any profit we make massively.
Are you still hoping that you'll get 350? Because if you got 350, that would give you a £6,400 profit. So at least it's a profit.
It's a profit, yeah, we haven't lost anything.
But will the agents agree with Craig and Tina's valuation?
One of the things that I do like is that the detail. There's been a lot of time and effort that's got into this.
Super bathroom. I've never seen a square toilet quite like that. Looks great.
Granite work surfaces. A real sort of Art Deco feel.
There may be one small issue. In this area, in my experience, buyers are telling me that they would prefer a house with a pitched roof as opposed to one with a flat roof.
I think somebody who absolutely loves the Art Deco feel may come through the door and absolutely fall in love with the property and buy it. They don't come along very often, but they do come through the door once in a while.
I value this property at £310,000.
If the right person comes along who loves Art Deco, I think you can achieve £320,000.
I'd value this property at £325,000.
We have had 3 agents round to value the property, and they didn't come in as high as I know you'd like. They came in at 310, 320 and 325. If you did sell it for an average of those 3 valuations, it would be 318,000, which would make you just over a £25,000 loss, which isn't great.
No, it's awful.
You're speechless.
Just terribly disappointed. I would really dearly have liked it to come out at the 350 and for there to be a good profit and go straight on to the next one and that kick us off on a really good, successful venture, and it hasn't.
There were 2 challenges to this development. One was to get the Art Deco look right, and the other was somehow to do it within budget. One you did achieve. I think it looks fantastic, but you certainly failed dismally, really, on doing it within budget.
There's no half measures with us.
No, there certainly isn't.
No.
You did manage to spend
Which doesn't really bode well for a future career as a successful property developer.
No, I would agree with you there.
I agree with you too.
Well, no, I wouldn't, because then there's always now room to improve. You couldn't get it wrong again like this.
Tina and Craig's inability to keep their budget under control has really put pay to this being a profitable development. But the reality is they bought an unusual house in a difficult location and were always up against it. While Mike and Sally in Clevedon have, in 26 weeks, made the very most of their stunning position. fabulous kitchen diner with its stunning views will really help sell this property. By taking my advice and putting the kitchen in the extension, I think they've ended up with the ideal space for family living. Upstairs, Mike and Sally have mainly played it safe with a neutral colour scheme, but have really gone for it in the new extension. The master bedroom certainly makes an impression, and the ensuite is very slick. I'm not surprised Mike and Sally found it hard to stick to their £70,000 budget.
Well, we ended up spending, including the fees by the time we sold, £127,000, which is way off what we came in with originally, but you know, I think the value is going to reflect it, and I think it's worth $550.
That's 50 grand more than Mike and Sally were originally hoping for. But if they still want to clear a £100,000 profit, that's what they'll need.
Wow, that is impressive.
Excellent family room and some lovely views out through the patio doors there.
Perhaps a little bit smaller than I would have liked for this type of house. This has obviously been very, very expensively done and beautifully thought out.
You can imagine sat here in the evening, it's a nice southwesterly aspect, nice glass of wine and a barbecue. Perfect.
I'd recommend putting this property on the market in the region of £530,000.
I would be happy to market this property at £550,000.
In my opinion, the current market value lies in the region of £550,000.
Mike and Sally bought the property for £320,000 and spent £127,000 on the development. And if they sell for the average of the three valuations at £543,000, they'll make a £96,000 gross profit. A truly fantastic result.
Yeah, when I started it 6 months ago, you just got this figure, you think, to make £100,000 on one house clear would be fantastic. 5% below that, I'd be happy with that. Well, that's still a big chunk of money for 6 months' work.
Mike and Sally bought a house in a great spot and did the right thing with it. And within a week of putting it on the market, accepted an offer of £550,000. Back in Surrey, Tina and Craig have decided to move in and wait for the market to pick up here before trying to sell their property. It could be a very long wait. Like any business, developing is ultimately about cold, hard cash. And so, although a higher risk can carry a higher return, you can only afford to overspend on a property if the area can carry it. Next week, two developers have given up their desk jobs in search of a more creative outlet.
I don't think it's anything that anybody could look at and go, that's horrible.
You're sure you're not taking it down?
That's the current thinking. I may change my mind.
No, you are going to take it down.
You think?